Welcome to BNOW, where we discuss what is happening in and around Brampton. My name is Don McLeod. A lot of people actually commented last week they were expecting us to be there on the 28th, and we weren't. I'll just give a little explanation that normally on the end of the month, every Tuesday at the end of every month, we highlight Patrick Brown, who is the mayor of Brampton. He can talk with Michael Charbon about what is going on in and around Brampton in the council chambers. Unfortunately, Patrick decided that basically he's running for the, well, fortunately for him, he's running for the Conservative Party leadership of Canada. So he is going to suspend that. And we had to do some adjustments. So that's why we weren't on the air. Going forward, we will be on the air every Tuesday going into the municipal and the provincial elections, covering what's going on. But that was the situation. It was actually good that we heard from a lot of people asking what's going on with you guys. So at least we know that more than one person is watching the program, which is great. So tonight we're going to talk about healthcare in Brampton. Doug Ford again was in Brampton. He's been in Brampton lately because obviously the provincial election is coming up. There's 5 seats in Brampton, which is huge. Brampton has always been a provincial and federal stop because we have 5 seats available for both of those elections. And this one is no different. Doug Ford basically said many times that, you know, if you want something, you have to have all 5 ridings go Conservative. Well, you know, basically a threat more than a promise. So here's what he had to say about the healthcare and the hospital in Brampton again just recently.
Here made themselves crystal clear those governments chose empty promises and band-aid solutions, while other governments just talked and delayed and under-delivered. We're getting it done for the people of Brampton. And today, we're announcing that our government is investing an additional $21 million towards expanding capacity and improving services in William Osler's hospitals. $18 million of this funding will help to create a fully functional inpatient hospital right here at the Memorial.
The sound is gone there. Either that or someone muted Doug Ford.
The remaining $3 million.
He's there, Don.
All right, good. Yeah, there's no sound there, Faz. So you know what? Let's kill it. All right. So there was a problem with Faz doing the sound. And once again, I'm gonna have to make sure that I get a decent sound engineer going forward.
Don't forget you got to introduce me, Don. You forgot to introduce me.
Yeah, everybody knows you. All right. So basically, Doug Ford was here. He's talking about.
Hey, let's make sure Karen's. I like the no sound. So Karen, you can hear us, right?
She can hear us. She's just at Doug Ford. She can't hear, which, according to her, that's good. So here's the thing: $18 million plus $3 million for planning. Wow, we're supposed to be thankful for that. Apparently, Brampton is, should get down on its hands and knees and kiss Doug Ford's feet because he's done more for Brampton than any other government in the past. What do you think about that, Faz?
Well, how much does it cost to build a hospital? Like over $1 billion, and we're getting like scraps, right? I think you said crumbs. Planning, from my understanding, this planning was done at the end of the Liberal term and was ready for funding. And now they allocated, I think, $21 million last year for planning, and now another 21 million or 18 million last year, and now 21 million this year for more planning. How much planning do they need to do?
Well, here's the thing, I heard Amarjot Sandhu at the end of the conference saying, Doug Ford has done so much for Brampton that I can't fit it all in my brochure. Really? What? I'd love to hear from a Doug Ford supporter what he has done for Brampton. What concrete stuff do we have sitting in the city of Brampton? In 2018, when he came into power, phase 2 of Peel Memorial was supposed to go ahead. He canceled that. It would have been almost complete right now if he actually had gone ahead with the phase 2 that Kathleen Wynne's government had actually instituted. He canceled that. He canceled the Ryerson $90 million university in the downtown campus. He canceled that. He canceled autism support for a lot of Bramptonians that were really looking forward to that proposal as well. So what has he done, right? And now he said 250 beds. The provincial average is 2.4 beds per 1,000 people. We have been waiting over 20 years. I've lived in Brampton close to 30-something years. We've only had one hospital. We're the 4th largest city in Ontario, 9th largest city across Canada. I've seen successive councillors and councils just ignore and lap up the crumbs and be happy and say, oh, thank you, we're getting a hospital. You know, we are 800 beds behind.
Don, didn't you just take advantage of our healthcare system and you got your knee done? So what do you, shouldn't you be happy and thankful?
It doesn't matter. The point is, yeah, and we have a Canada Health Act that ensures that Canadians are supposed to have decent health care.
You got decent health care. Did you have to wait a long time for that surgery?
Actually, I waited about a year.
Okay, and where did you get the surgery done, Don?
I had a choice between Brampton Civic. My doctor asked me, do you want the knee replacement done at Brampton Civic or St. Mike's? St. Mike's. And he said, yeah, good choice. All right.
Was he actually sarcastic that way?
No, he was actually, he said, yeah, there's a good doctor down there. I'm going to recommend blah, 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 blah. So it's like, you know, here's the thing. When Brampton Civic first opened up, it was 200 beds short and $250 million over budget. One of the current council, oh, well, it's only $250 million. We have been underfunded for so long in Brampton. And every time there's an election, it doesn't make a difference. We have every party come to this town and promise the moon and deliver nothing. 250 beds is a ridiculous number of beds for this council to say, you know, throw confetti and pop open the champagne corks and say, oh, great, we're getting 250 beds. We're still 850 beds behind the national average. In 2027, when this great 250 bed hospital is complete, we're going to be even further behind because the population will increase.
Well, so, you know, in the promo for the show, we basically said, you know, the stats you were talking about, we need 850 beds. And for some reason, we seem to be happy with 250, even though when these beds are ready, it's probably going to be back up to 850 beds we need, right? Because we are the fastest growing city in Canada, and we have one hospital. We are the 9th largest city in Canada, and we have one hospital. Right, yeah, we don't have a second hospital. The Conservatives keep talking about, we gave you a second hospital.
No, you didn't give a squat right yet. All you give is a planning, and who's getting the planning? And the plans were already there for the second hospital in the first place. So what are you planning? What are you developing some sort of new plan? It's a hospital. There's the plan. Why can't you use the previous plan? Right? Maybe they're paying off one of their local donors and giving it to an architectural company that gave them a design. I don't know, but it's a ridiculous scenario.
Well, you know, the money is going to William Osler, and, you know, I don't know, Doug Ford can't say. Let's not put allegations in there, but
no, but I'm just like, what's the point? Right? Well, you know, how many times do you have to plan for something? Yeah. You know, and the thing is, at Brampton, the current funding is 90% provincial, 10% municipal. We've already kicked in $60 million of taxpayers' money into that. Well, we've donated more money to that hospital than the provincial government at this point in time. So where's our press conference saying, hey, we just donated $60 million, which is a hell of a lot more than your government has actually donated.
That is true, Don. We should have a press conference.
Yeah. Well, I think we're having a kind of one now, but you know, that's the whole point. Everybody laps this up, and every time Bramptonians don't ask the tough questions, we don't have a council that actually grills these people and said, this is a ridiculous scenario.
Yeah, well, so, you know, we're getting a lot of comments on this one. Obviously, it's a hot topic, right? Ricky keeps commenting here. Maybe we should just go on a diet, less ghee. Ghee, if you don't know it, is kind of a really bad substance for you. I don't know, Don. It's like it's an election period.
It's an election period, but we fall for it. Brampton falls for it, and they shouldn't, because you know what? We have been screwed time after time. This is what is called political infrastructure. The province should not have any
No, no,
say.
no, no. Hospital infrastructure.
Yeah, it's political infrastructure because Doug Ford is saying, vote for me, you get a hospital, or you don't vote for me, you don't get a hospital. That's political infrastructure. They're putting politics into it. This is the healthcare of the citizens of Ontario, and you're playing politics with it. You're saying, vote me in and you get a hospital. That should not be legal. It should be a standalone, separate. I don't care if it's more bureaucracy. Brampton needs a hospital, has needed a hospital for 20 years. We've been underfunded, and we have less beds in the average in Ontario and across the country. It's a ridiculous scenario that they hold Brampton hostage, and every one of our councillors does nothing and says nothing, and every time we have a problem.
In fact, what the council is doing tonight, they're like last week at the committee council meeting, they had a motion to pass a 1%. Like go backwards in our budget and now add a 1% levy to your taxes.
Right. So we've already committed 60 million plus. Now we're gonna have another 1% on top of that.
Well, you keep rounding up, Don. It's 67.5 million. You're just dropping an extra 7.5 million just like that's
plus. So we're committing more.
That's a lot of money.
We're committing more to our hospital than the provincial government has at this point. And here's the killer: people don't realize we still have to pay. We have to pay for. You know, right now we pay for 10% of the capital construction costs, right? But we pay 100% of the hospital equipment costs, which include the furniture, the fixtures, medical equipment, MIR machines, CT scanners, and X-ray machines. And when we get the cancer ward, we're still going to have to supply that, right?
Right.
So
yeah, you know,
in actual fact, wait a second. In actual fact, the city, the municipality, actually gives 30% of the cost of that hospital, and the province only gives 70%. It's not 90-10, it's 70-30, because by the time you factor in all the money that groups give and the taxpayers give, plus the 100% of the cost to furnish, it is 30% of the total cost of that hospital, not 10%.
Well, everybody else is getting a hospital done. Who's going to pay for it? We have to pay for their Oakville got a hospital. Vaughan got a hospital. I think Ottawa's got a hospital. Mississauga's getting a big, huge renovation to their hospital. We got to get in line, Don.
Yeah. Well, maybe there should be a re-examination of the local share of the hospital capital calculation methodology. Because at this point in time, the way it looks, Brampton's not going to get a hospital in 2027. There's no way. Right. And it's going to be later than that. We're not going to get a third hospital. And municipalities, here's the thing. Municipalities send a whole bunch of money to the provincial and the federal government. You know how much money comes back from those back into the coffers? It's about 9%.
Well, depending on which city you are, right? If you're Brampton, it's probably less. If you're Ottawa, it's probably a huge amount because they got all the federal.
Right. But if you're a small community and you need a hospital, you have to raise 10%, an actual 30%. How hard is that? But we're the fourth largest city in Canada. Our tax dollars of a city of $600,000, 600,000 people in this city send taxes, property taxes, municipal taxes, and everything else to the provincial and federal government. And what have they got over the last 20-something years back? You tell me.
So, Don, what is your suggestion then, right? Because we keep voting in these people that are just, they make promises and then they get in and then they break the promise. What is your solution?
Well, here's my solution. I know that the federal contribution used to be 50-50. It used to be a 50%. That, excuse me, that federal contribution has dropped to, I think, 22% to the provinces for healthcare. About a year ago, or less than a year ago, I think all the provincial premiers got together and they said, to Ottawa, we need at least 35% for increased healthcare costs. Don't forget, these machines only last for about 10 years. And the cost of these machines have gone up. So the cost of the furniture, the machines, the MRI machines, all these costs go up. And the municipalities are responsible to provide all this stuff. In the meantime, you know, we're talking about inflation. We're talking about increased costs for gas and everything else. You know, we don't have a huge manufacturing center in Brampton. We have more logistics than anything else. You know, in the 1990s, here's the killer. In the 1990s, it used to be developers, part of their traditional role, they used to be in helping to pay for new hospitals to serve the communities they were building. That got erased in the 1990s.
You mean the development charges?
Yes.
Yeah.
But developers themselves had to put in to
Well, the
actually
money
help.
from developers is coming from the people who are buying the
This
property.
is more than development charges, right?
Okay, so it's coming off the price of the house. It's not as if the developers are taking it out of their pocket. It's coming out of the sale of their properties that they're selling.
Well, no, it's added on to make sure that they do
Yeah.
hospitals, right? And the thing is, Ontario is the only Canadian province requiring municipal governments to share the public health costs. Ontario is the only one.
An interesting side I heard is Ontario has the, Doug Ford keeps talking about this is the biggest healthcare spending in Canadian history. Yeah, but as a per capita, I think we're one of the lowest in Canada as a province.
Absolutely.
And then in Brampton, we are the lowest city. So we are the worst of the worst here in Brampton.
Exactly. And, the politicians are great at taking and putting a spin and saying, oh, well, we're the best and the brightest and the, blah, 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 blah. Talk is cheap. We know the results, right? What have you built? Where is a building that Doug Ford's government has actually put in place in Brampton? He takes credit for the $10, what is it, monthly for the, what is it, daily? I don't have any kids, the child care. That's a federal program. It's not a provincial, it's a federal program.
Well, I think the province had to fund some of it, but we don't have those details. But it wouldn't have happened without the federal government.
Exactly. That's the whole point, right? So, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, but the thing is for Brampton, every year there's the municipality, the AMO that gets together of all the municipal governments, the big municipal governments. I would love to see them say, this is what we need. We need a new, basically a methodology to calculate, especially in regards to projects such as hospitals, because
the problem with I'm thinking the AMO is there are very few cities that are in the dire straits as Brampton. So everybody's probably looking at Brampton thinking, what's the issue? Our hospitals are, it's not great, but it's fine. But in Brampton, we're so far behind that, to get all the other municipalities to kind of do something at a federal level would only benefit us in the short term. So, are other municipalities willing to step up to do that when they probably have other infrastructure funding coming and, put that in jeopardy because they're standing up for Brampton? I don't think so.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Remember, W5 just did a thing a couple of weeks ago in regards to a doctor at William Osler, which is at the Brampton Civic. He was complaining about certain protocols with the Ford government that we're instituting. And the CEO of William Osler came down and said, shh, be quiet, because Doug Ford can cut our funding. That is a big problem. That is huge.
Again, just to cover ourselves, that's an allegation. We don't know how true that is.
Well, they can go to W5 and the allegation is there, right? So it's like, we're just basically quoting something that's already been in the news. So, Doug Ford.
Okay, so I asked you for a solution, right? But you're telling me the federal government. But at the end of the day, you and I are not in the government. We're not.
No, but here's the solution. I hear all parties, right? There's the NDP and the Liberals. They're not in party now. They're saying, every week they come out with a statement. I would love to see, if you're really interested in making sure that the citizens of Brampton get a decent hospital and their fair share of funding, why are they not working together at Queen's Park to actually solve the problem instead of pointing fingers left, right, and center? I'd have more respect for the NDP if they said, we're putting out the olive branch.
Hang on. Are you okay? You vented? You feel better?
Not yet, but I will.
So last week, I think Sarah Singh, who is the deputy leader of the NDP, got a bipartisan motion to fully fund the Cancer Care Center in Brampton. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, we still have to pay for everything as well. That's the whole thing.
Well, no, they said fully fund. So I'm thinking there's no local share for that. So we shouldn't be on the hook for that cancer care center.
Including the equipment.
I don't know,
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day, until, the bill, actually 300 and whatever million for a cancer care center seems low to begin with.
Yeah, 300 million is not really a huge amount, to tell you the truth, when hospitals are $1 billion.
Yeah.
300 million,
But, previously,
that's basically 300 barns. Right?
It is 300 barns, yeah.
Yeah, 300 barns. Right?
Or 3,000 neighborhood watch programs.
Yeah, exactly.
So earlier in this term of legislature, Sarah Singh did, the NDP did try to work with the Conservative government to try to get motions passed to fund Brampton's hospital. It didn't happen. There is no liberal representatives in Brampton at the provincial level. So at the end of the day, it's the majority party. So I asked you, what is the solution? I can tell you what my solution is.
All
My
right, give me your
solution
solution.
is not to get a majority government in place at this point, right? Because they have to work together. I am tired of seeing majority governments come in and just undo previous programs and then come in with their own programs, waste a lot of money. I like minority governments because everybody has to work well together.
Yeah, I mean, that might be a possibility. Let's just hope that happens. But, I would hate to see 5 seats go to the Conservative government in Brampton because they've actually done nothing in Brampton, right? Despite,
It'll be interesting to see on June 3rd. Is that when the election is?
I think so. I think we have a month left, 4 weeks. I think 1st of May, I think, is when we're ready to go. So what? Every year we go through this, every term that, you have municipal elections and provincial and federal elections. It's the same thing in Brampton. And it's like, meanwhile, the citizens of Brampton pay their taxes. They send it to Queen's Park. They send it to Ottawa. And they're getting nothing in return. They're talking about buses, electric. That's great. Electric buses, great. Blah 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 blah. We need hospitals. You've got an aging population that is only going to be, obviously, going to be exasperated by this situation. The debacle in long-term care facilities that's going on in Ontario and across the country is a major problem that's not being addressed at either level. And then we're sitting here, and then we're saying electric buses. Yeah, great. We got $400 million to secure a loan. Get a hospital. Get a second, third hospital in the city.
But we could be doing multiple things at the same time, though, Don. The $400 million or whatever came from the federal. This is provincial. We have a provincial election. To me, is when a candidate comes to your door, get your video camera out and get that candidate to say what they're going to do in terms of healthcare in Brampton if they get elected. Right, get them on camera.
Yeah. That's if you get a candidate in your door. They send out all the teams of high school students to hand out brochures, and nobody knows anything, right? So it's like Well,
what about if we invite all the candidates on one show and say, "Hey, what's your healthcare platform?" Right, get them on camera.
Well, going forward, we're going to probably do something like that and I don't want to hear the same sort of thing that we hear, and we'll cut them off because I want to hear decent solutions from people that got a vision and represent. I don't want somebody who's going to become a SEAL, a trained SEAL.
Well,
if you're going to do that,
if somebody comes to my door and says they're going to fund the third hospital, fully fund it with another 650 beds, they got my vote.
Well, I want to see a timeline. I'd like to see clarity, and I'd like to see a whole bunch of different things on that. No, we're not doing a debate, Carla, because I'm going to tell you something. Debates are useless. We've done enough debates in the past where all you get is the party line, and all they spout is, what they're told at the provincial or federal level. My party's done this, blah, 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 blah. All you get is talking points. You don't get any resonate. It's a ridiculous, right? Well, yeah. I don't yell at the volunteer hours and the kids. I don't yell at them, but that's who
you just don't answer the door when they come to the door.
Yeah, I'd love to have an actual candidate there. Absolutely, 100%.
No, when the kids come to your door, Don, you don't answer it.
Well, you know what? I tell the kids, I offer the kids if they want to mow my grass, I'll listen to them, right?
Okay, Don, so we've gone on for quite a bit of time here. I would just encourage people when your candidate comes to the door, or just email the candidates or email your MPP now and ask them what's going on. This is an election time. Whatever a politician says now in terms of an announcement doesn't mean it's going to happen after the election.
No, but the thing is, like, you've got a valid point. Ask them a question, send them an email and say, what are you going to do? Because at some point in time, hopefully, you've got that and they've got to be answerable to it. It's like, when Doug Ford first came in, there was a vote put in the legislature to cancel the second phase of the Peel Memorial. Guess who was missing from that vote in the legislature? Both Brampton MPPs.
They were probably busy doing important stuff.
Yes. Well, they must have been busy because at the same time, there were the vote to cancel the Ryerson funding. They weren't in the legislature to vote against that as well, right? So it's like, these are your representatives that represent Brampton, and they're not even showing up for votes so they can get their vote on record. So you can say, you voted against that. All they say is, oh, well, we weren't in the legislature. Really?
Yeah. Yeah, Crystal, you make perfect sense. Our problem is we don't have media in Brampton that covers these things, right? If this was Toronto media and Toronto was looking for a second or a third hospital, they'd have it because the media would come out there and ask the tough questions. We're not media. We're just me and you.
Yeah, I'd like the tough questions that come from our representatives at City Hall who are there to be advocates for the general population, not basically train SEALs and say, thank you, Doug Ford, for giving us 250 beds.
Well, no, it's not even that. It's thank you, Doug Ford, for giving us the opportunity to charge our taxpayers 1% tax levy.
Exactly.
The easiest thing for a politician to do is to raise taxes. The hardest thing is to go figure out where to get the money from. And I really view this local share, this 10%, this 125 million for 250 beds, which is $500,000 a bed, right? Is not our responsibility. We've been sitting here subsidizing the rest of the province because we don't have hospital beds. And now we have to pay this 10% share for only at 250 beds. Okay, if they said, okay, it's 850 million and it's 125. Sorry, it's 850 beds, the full amount we need now, and 125 million cost of taxpayers, property taxpayers, then I'd say okay. But if you do the math, it's 475 plus million where the local share is going to be if we were to get all the hospital beds that we deserve. That is outrageous.
Well, and the thing is, like I told you before, we've been sending our tax dollars to Queen's Park and the federal government for over 20 years, and they've been allocating hospitals all over the province, except here, the fourth largest city in Ontario. So we've been, as you say, subsidizing other hospitals, but we're getting screwed over. I mean, it's a ridiculous scenario. Plus, as I told you, it's not 10%. It works out to 30% after you're buying all the equipment and everything else. So the federal government or the provincial government, when they say we're providing 90, that is a load of bull.
Yeah, so you know what, Don, we're nearing the end. Healthcare is one of those topics I don't think you or I are going to forget about. I don't think residents are going to forget about this. So whatever candidates say, if a candidate is out there and wants to come on and tell us your platform and tell us how we're going to hold your feet to the fire, let us know. We'll have you on and we'll share the information. Otherwise, come after the election, this is not going away. We have waited 4 years and nothing has happened other than announcement for money for William Osler to start planning. That is outrageous.
Yep. So anyway, if anyone wants to comment, send me an email and we'll put it on for next week's show. Next week, we're going to, there's 4 weeks left. 4 weeks left, basically, until you get a lame council at City Hall and you get a lame council at Queen's Park, because once the election, is set, there's nothing in stone and the politicians basically are out stumping. So 4 weeks left, and we're going to talk next week. That barndoogle for the $1 million barndoogle is not over yet. There's 2 reports that basically were supposed to be released before the CAO got canned. Gee, what a surprise. I wonder why he got canned, right? Also, there's a whole bunch of different firings at City Hall. One person emailed me about, they're still sort of not happy about Harry Schlang getting paid. Hey, that was last council, and last council was the one who agreed to a settlement. But now we have a whole bunch of other people that have been fired by the sanctimonious six, as I like to call them. And we'll cover that next week. And going forward, if there's a topic that you guys want to for us to cover, just email me. There's my email address. But thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.